get too close to these things or I'm too far away. I'm Rod McCaddy. I've been with the Longview School District, now it's just bizarre, for 28 years. 37 total, and education's getting scary. Right, Robin? My job within the school district right now is I'm Director of Special Services, which means that I work with a great group of people that provide services for children that are in special education. We also support families and children in the schools for children that are 504 plans, and then about anything else that comes in. And we have a very large number of students in our district that are part of that. So when you look at our community as a whole, I think that's what we need to address. In the time that my wife and I and our daughters came here, Longview was quite different 28 years ago, wouldn't you say? And we have gone through many, many changes. And through that time of change economically, there have been many changes with families that have come here. And currently, right now, many of our families are really, really struggling. Okay? And what I'm seeing and what we're seeing in the schools is that many of the families are struggling medically. There is a ton of struggle with mental health, you know, and that's all in addition to the economic struggle that they're going through. And so how you deal with that is very important. And so within the schools, we're trying to build relationships with other organizations to work with them to try and meet the needs of the children. So, I mean, everybody at Columbia Wellness, I mean, we're buds. I mean, Ron and Joyce London and everybody there, we're talking all the time about different families, different children, and how we can help. And then working with the Child and Adolescent Center in Blaine, Toby, those of you that know Blaine and others there, we're working very, very closely. The major things that we're trying to do within the schools, though, is also to grow and broaden the understanding of our staffs and our schools, to be able to understand the children that are coming to them and many of the mental health concerns that they have. So much of it is behavioral. And the behavioral is not just within school that gets in the way of the children learning, but it's even bigger at home. And so Columbia Wellness also has what are called WISE teams that work with the children in school, but also work with the families at home to try and strengthen them and grow them. And so that's what we're trying to do. Now, coming from a religious standpoint here with you folks, because that's where I come from, I mean, when I started, I once was thought about being a pastor. My brother's a pastor. And then in working things out with God, I felt the calling of becoming an educator, not because I wanted to be a teacher, because that's what the ultimate thing was for me, but that became my place of mission. And with the folks that I know, especially within special education, and those that are Christians, in a time of the life of Longview, we need to be able to reach out to children, change their lives. And a lot of that's more than just teaching. That's a mission for reaching in and figuring out ways that you can touch the hearts and lives of families, how you can help them settle, and how you can bring some sense of grounding for them so that they can help their children. And so that's what we're trying to do, but it's not easy. So that's kind of an overview within the schools. There are a lot of behavioral programs that are going on right now. In the elementary schools, there's conscious discipline that is moving across. We also are putting in, that will be starting, 5 behavioral specialists who will be going through training that will be going into the elementary schools with the idea that they will get their training and be able to help work with these children as well, both special education and general education, kids, everyone, so the children can be successful. We also work in coordination with Columbia Wellness. There are some biggest push. We have the gigantic push academically, but we have the big push underneath that's even more important, and that is to reach the hearts and lives of children and their mental health needs. So that's kind of an overview.
Overview, that's quite good. What Ron was saying really addresses what I would consider one of the most important factors in our community, and that's the value of education. And we have done a better job in the last 10 years of having students graduate from high school than we did 20 and 30 years ago. And that's something very powerful that we should all be proud of and continue to accomplish. But at the same time, when we look at the number of adults who have a Bachelor of Arts degree, we're at a little over 15% of the adults. Statewide, the average is over 31%. So when we talk about new businesses coming to town, there's going to be a tremendous push to retrain folks locally so they can do new jobs, face the new technologies, and be part of the economy in that way. When Kathleen asked me to say a few words today, I asked if I could bring my projector and slideshow, and she said no. So I'll carry on. One of the things we look at through Pathways 2020 is how are we doing overall as a healthy community. And so we look at the Robert Wood Johnson's County Health Rankings that come out every year. And I have to say that we've made progress. This is a healthier community than it was just 5-6 years ago. Our overall rank has risen. The area that I have always been concerned about are healthy behaviors, smoking, drinking, obesity, other reckless ways of living our lives. And for all these years, we've been ranked 39th. It's dead last in the state of Washington. And 38th was Grace Harbor, and I'm originally from Grace Harbor, which is not damn so bad. And this year our ranking came out in health behaviors, we ended up 35th. Now, that's great, it's moving in the right direction. Our board has the role of bringing it into the 20s. But we've been able to accomplish this because there's a lot more talk going on about health, and how to live healthy lives, how to help one another. So often we hear people talk about, well, you know, the doctor told me if I want to lose 15 pounds, I need to get out and walk 2 miles every day. And that's an individual choice then, how we're going to go about and address that. But if that person lives in a neighborhood where there's no sidewalks, or maybe there's drug and gang activity in the neighborhood, or if they don't have the money to buy the gas to get down to the lake, chances are they're going to get as far as the front porch, look at their surroundings, and say, well, maybe I'll try tomorrow. And so that, you know, health in our community is really a community effort. That's why when we look at folks who want to clean hikes, you know, our response can be, how do we build more trails? How do we make pedestrian movement safer? How do we encourage children to walk or bike to school? So it's important that we look at our data and think about not just what the individual should be doing to improve their life, but how we as a community can contribute to that. Now, Sam and I both deal with a lot of numbers, and I asked Sam what he was going to talk about, so I'll try not to duplicate. We've got some trends going on in our community that are really powerful. Education has improved. We're on the cusp of some economic opportunities. We have teen pregnancy rate has stabilized. It's below the state and national rate. Access to health care has improved by some 10,000 people in the county. And we have programs that started small and really taken hold, like obesity rate, we actually have, percentage-wise, more people obese than we have people overweight. And that's really a lousy trend for our community to have. Smoking rate is improving, but it's got a long ways to go. Pregnant moms in this county, about 24% of them are smoking during their pregnancy. Statewide, it's 9%. So we've got a lot of opportunity there to improve. As Rob said, behavioral health is a critical issue in our community. Second, what he said, I work a lot with Head Start, just seeing children coming in at 3 and 4 years of age that we know are going to be behavioral issues for Ron and his teachers unless we can work together and plan some action to help them. Family violence is still higher than the state average here. Domestic violence, child abuse and neglect, drug and alcohol deaths remain higher than the state average, significantly higher than the state average. And asthma is a critical issue for children in our community. We have one of the worst rates in the state of Washington. There's a lot of reasons why that can be. It could be because of poor housing, the lack of medical resources. But that's something asthma can be controlled. So it's a matter of getting families to receive the services that they're so desperately looking for. So I want to share with you some information that is, you're going to test audience. Not that I give you much of a choice. But we work a lot with social determinants of health, looking at the fact that where we live, where we learn, where we work, where we play, has a great deal to say about our individual health. Nowadays, we're starting to talk about the zip code as your determinant of how healthy a life you're going to be. So working with Sam and other members of the Health Department and the Council of Governments, we're looking at health-related issues on how we can improve policies that will encourage healthier behaviors. And I want to share some numbers. Go into the office and put the speakers on the video. You live here in what we call, for our study, a West Lawn. That's from 15th Avenue all the way.
Oh, you need to look for it. All the way here.
Good.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what we need to hear.
Thank you all. So between 15th and the lake is what we consider the west study area. And from 15th to the Cowlitz River is the east area. And while it's all part of Longview, these have become really two very different areas in our community. For example, in west, 14% of the residents are under 18 years of age. In east, it's 17%. Ages 18 to 24, only 4% of the population here in the west. And it's 10% in the east sector. Going down to age 35 to 64, 46% of the residents here in the west side are in that age group, but it's only 35% on the east side. And then when you get to age 65 plus, it's 25% to 26%, so it's pretty even as we look at that. But when we look at people who are living at 200% of the federal poverty level, in west side it's 33%, in the east side it's 71%. Population 18 to 64 who are employed, west side here 75%, east side 46%. High school, not having a high school diploma. There's only 9% here on the west side who do not have a high school degree. On the east side, it's 26%. And we can go through several of these. Housing costs, which you see 50% of income. On the west side here, it's 17%. On the east side, it's 32%. So these are folks all living in the same town. And we need to ask ourselves, why is one area so different from the other? Because when we look at the actual health outcomes, the east side
and synthesize it at the end. So the median household income for the area is about 46,000 in the area, but since 2010, we've seen actually a 15% decrease in household income. So it was 55, around 55,000, so we've seen 46,000. Ultimately up 5% since 2007. You can really see the whole market kind of fluctuations really emphasized in that. And another kind of point to build on that is that whereas the median household income has decreased by 15%, rent has increased by 20%. So we see this combination of decreasing wages and increasing rental costs, and as Paul kind of mentioned before, that dramatically shifted our population to be rent burdened. In 2007, about 46% of the population was rent burdened. Rent burden is essentially paying around 30% of your income for housing costs. In 2014, it jumped up to 58%, having more than 30%, and even if we look at 35%, it's roughly 40% of people that have 30% of their income going to it. So we see this kind of combination of the rental market and the household income market kind of combining to really create a lot of people that are on the edge of financial problems. It's really stressful. That leads a lot of time to health issues. Another issue is that we're seeing our population is ultimately aging. So we have a really big boomer population. And if you look kind of at a population pyramid or something, you can see that it gets really large around, I believe, 35 to 60 years old. We kind of have this bubble. And what we can expect from that is that as it moves up, we're going to see a lot of demand in affordable housing markets, alternate transportation methods. And so it's really kind of an emphasis, back on what Paul said, is creating this community that can walk different places that has affordable housing options. What else can I talk about this? Maybe something more uplifting. So yeah, I worked with Paul on some projects specifically relating to how the built environment works with addressing poverty issues or disability issues. But the majority of what I work in is in the housing and homeless world. And as I'm sure you're aware, it's a pretty big issue in Cowlitz County right now. And some of the main issues that we're seeing are mental health issues, substance issues. So those are kind of echoing what Rod said earlier, as far as those are some really big issues that we're having in our community. There's a lot of really great agencies that are doing a lot of really great work in Cowlitz County, and Faith Community is something that is really helping. They're a really great partner to work with a lot of the housing and homeless providers in there. There's a lot of really great options for how the Faith Community can get involved in expanding and working with social service providers that are already in the county. And some of them, so there's one specific program that's kind of been introduced recently in Cowlitz County. There's been some churches that have kind of banded together to work with our local coordinated entry program to say there's unsheltered families living on our street. So Cowlitz County has been part of this 100-day challenge to end unsheltered family homelessness. And the idea of an unsheltered family, someone living in their car or placed on for human habitation, there aren't that many in Cowlitz County. A lot of them are living with relatives or living in shelters. The updated data we have is it's around 10. That's not very many. We can end unsheltered family homelessness in Cowlitz County. There are ways that we've done this, and we've really tried to work with the agencies to figure out how we can do different funding strategies to address this. But partnering with the Faith Community has been a really big part of that. So if someone we know is an unsheltered family, they can come to coordinated entry, and the church says, yeah, we can help with a hotel motel voucher until we can figure something out. We can work with them to see if they can find relatives in other areas. So ultimately, we're kind of going back to an emphasis. We're seeing a lot of changing demographic profile. It's kind of getting older. There's a lot of people that are leaving the area that are younger generations. We're seeing a lot of people having financial troubles, especially as the boomer generation maybe gets older. They might be shifting to fixed income. So that's kind of a different shift also. And kind of to bring these all three together, they're all very integral and really related. So it's kind of hard to talk about one without talking about it. And I know that we were going to
state of Washington, you look at Seattle, you look at Vancouver and other places, it's very expensive to live there. It's not as expensive to live here in Cowles County. Also, they say, you know, for a county this small, how many counties this small actually have a hospital? How many counties this small have this kind of mental health services? And then they may have family, and they may not have enough money to make it out there, but they, you know, they start doubling, tripling up into homes. So, you know, we've had a lot of families say, this is why we've come. There's family support, and there are all these other supports in the county that you can't find in other counties. So anyway, that's another thing to think about. Actually, that's a very positive thing for our county, but hey, you know, people see that out there, that helps bring people here.
I'm wondering if the three of you would be willing to comment as you look at the community. What are the places where you feel the churches can have the most impact? I know you've all said a few things, but could you underline that for us?
Healthy foods, nutrition. Many churches here have land that is lying vacant, unused, that church gardens can go in that could help families and make that available. There's a real need for low-income housing of all sorts, but affordable housing for people. That's really going to be a necessity in the coming years. And I know churches in other communities that are banded together or singly built low-income housing, or they built senior facilities in order to keep folks living in their home or living in their community. There's two things off the top of my head.
Yeah, I 100% agree with Paul. I think another one is really working as a community with other churches to kind of really leverage those local resources to be able to, you know, do targeted interventions on strategies that work to address issues. So healthy food, affordable housing, just really being able to leverage those resources.
One of the things I really believe is that many folks in our, not just here in Longview, but in our society today, are really missing the spiritual side of life. And it's amazing what can happen in a person's life when they finally give their life to Christ, and then the changes that happen. I mean, there can be huge changes in their lives that can also affect mental illness and other things. You can imagine if some of these families come in and they become involved with you, and they come to know Jesus as your Savior, and they allow God to enter into their lives, the kind of changes that can happen there. Can you imagine what can happen within their families? Oh my goodness. So if there's some way that you can continue to expand out to them, to minister to them, so that they know that God is real, that He loves them and cares about them, they can begin, that change starting at the family level is huge. And that's not something that we can do. We can do the exterior type things, but a spiritual change in a person's life is gigantic.
Any other questions, or we'll have, hopefully you'll be able to say, chat with folks afterward. Sandra.
Hi, my name is Sandra. I have a question. Given that Cowles County has no beds for teenagers whatsoever in foster care, what's being done to address the needs of the teens in Cowles County who are couch surfing or homeless?
So the question is about homelessness and teenagers in Cowles County.
That's a real interesting one. A lot of the kids are they're couch surfing from friend's home to friend's home. You know what I'm saying? Some of them, I don't hear that many of them that are in cars by themselves any longer. But they also have some family in town. The thing I found interesting is the number of families that we've had where a student or a couple students and their mom or their dad are living in a family's home. That home's not big enough. So it's not even couch surfing, it's garage surfing. Those kinds of things. There's a lot of that out there right now. The good thing about it is people are willing to start taking
talk about foster care, I think it's an issue with all ages, but particularly with teens. Unfortunately, I haven't heard a quick and easy solution to that. I know for children under 5 who are in foster care, for example, they're automatically eligible for Head Start, which provides a lot of services for children and families. But the teen population is difficult to get a hold of. One encouraging thing is the dropout rate is going down. So we keep kiddos in school, and we can hopefully keep them in their home and access to other resources.
Yeah, so homeless youth in our county, it's there. It's just not very well documented. We don't have a lot of outreach staff that are specifically catered towards working with homeless youth. That's something that has to be done in a very different way than working with a 60-year-old man who's homeless and been homeless for 30 years. It's very different. You have to use a lot of very different language to talk with somebody that's recently homeless, maybe 18 years old. We have limited resources for people aging out of foster care. Some of the stuff that's been talked about in Cowlitz County is creating some kind of drop-in center for youth, where people can come in, get connected with services, and that's where they can really start to create that dialogue with working with homeless youth. Another one is there's a gap in healthcare services for youth. There's a large percentage of homeless youth are in the LGBTQ community, and there's a lot of services that aren't specifically catered to that population now. So that's something that kind of also needs to be addressed, but it's certainly an issue.
One other thing that we're finding with many of the children that are being placed in foster care is the mental health levels of these children are beyond extreme, okay? And to the point that in the state of Washington, and I don't mean to speak this way, but there are not enough beds available in facilities to meet the needs of these children. And so these children will be moved a number of times, and when they get moved from place to place, the impact that they have on wherever they go is